Well, I really didn't get much done since last time. Show you what I'm dealing with here. I was trying to, where I left off, I was trying to fit the hood pieces here, and I almost made a really major mistake here. I'll show you what that was here in just a second. When I first put the body on, I only attached the body here on each side and right here on each side. And I know that's not the normal connection here. Normally, the screw goes up from the bottom and screws into the fender piece that goes in here. I just put a nut and bolt in there to hold it in place while I fitted everything else. And my plan here is to fit the hood, fit the fenders, fit the doors. Once everything is fitted, then take it all off and paint it. So when I put the body on, I did not fasten it back here because I didn't study the instructions well enough to see that I was supposed to. So this was actually kind of floating, and it was actually being held up maybe about 1/4 of an inch. And I thought it was odd that there was nothing really supporting the back. And when I was trying to fit the front fenders here, I noticed that this piece, if I moved it, could actually slide forward and back a little bit. So that got me to wondering why the back end was so loose. So I studied the instructions a bit better, and then I saw how it was supposed to be fastened. So what you're supposed to do is this piece, the floor panel, gets screwed to the chassis from the bottom up. And I'll show you some pictures. I didn't record that. I took a couple of pictures of it. And while I was doing it, one of the screws broke, and I'll show you some pictures of that, and I'll show you how I got that broken piece out. Which these screws, they're so, it doesn't take much to break them. In fact, the screw wasn't even in all the way. It was only in halfway, and it broke. And I'm kind of wondering if that's because maybe it bottomed out. I used the screw the instructions called for, but I'm thinking maybe it was too long and it shanked out and snapped before it got all the way in. So I'm actually using a little bit of shorter screws for these. These were fine. So once those get screwed down, then these get screwed down right here, and that holds all of that still. And that makes this want to move a lot less, and it kind of sets that in position. One other thing I did, and I did this because I saw somebody else on another forum do it. The metal piece right here, the part of the chassis, that was a little bit tall. Where that was setting on it, that was actually holding the back end up quite a bit. I just ground that down a little bit. Again, I'll have a picture showing that a little bit better. And that makes the whole back end set down nicer. And let me show you something else here. Let me grab one of the doors. When we go to fit the doors in place, this is the other side. When that back end down, the door fits a lot nicer. I don't know if you can, that's really not the best angle, best view to see that. But with this sticking up 1/4 inch that it was, that door is just too big to fit in there. So pushing that down and putting the screws in it, that door is a near perfect fit. We'll see how it works with the hinges on there. I've seen pictures where the hinges weren't very good, and I want to make sure that when the door opens, it doesn't go open and down. I've seen a lot of other cases to where if you just put the hinges on as made, when the door's open, it's like tilted way down. And well, I guess if the real car's like that, I don't know. I got to look at some more pictures. I got to look at some more references of the real car if the door's open. But I'm kind of thinking when they open, they're just sticking straight out and not tilted down. So we'll see how that works when I get a chance to get the hinges. But where I almost screwed up, let me get one of these hood pieces here. Where I almost screwed up, remember I said this piece was forward a little bit, and with the hood on, the hood was actually setting about like that, and about 1/8 of an inch overlapping the front grill part. And I masked that off, and I was getting ready to cut off that 1/8 of an inch. And you know how they say measure twice, cut once? Well, I'm starting to believe on a Pocher model, you should like measure 10 times and then think about it, sleep on it, come back the next day, measure a few more times, and then think about it some more, and then figure it out from there. Because yeah, I almost made those hood pieces way too short. Because again, once I screwed these down, I got to thinking, this just didn't seem right. It didn't seem right that was up too high. It didn't seem right that this could move around a bit. So once I fitted this and fitted this, and I got this in the right position. The hood pieces, let me get this back on here. It's pretty much a perfect fit. That would have been pretty bad if I'd have shaved that down and then realized my mistake later. So that's a fairly near perfect fit. Now the other hood, let me grab that. This one is going to be a problem. Get that on here. Because with this one, and I think I have a better picture of it later, but look at that front there. It's just sticking up. It's like the whole hood is warped. So what I'm going to do for this one, I'm going to take a piece of wood, maybe a piece of 2x4 or something. And also notice that edge is just bowed. I might bond in some brass square stock along here just to force that to be straight. But I'll sand a piece of wood to the right shape, not this shape. Then I'll put this on here and I'll gently heat it up with a heat gun and then flex it around to the correct shape and tape it down tight until it cools down. Now I saw somebody else online tried heating those in hot water to try to get them in shape, and they completely destroyed them. They got all warped and just went, didn't turn out very well. Hopefully, if I'm careful enough with the heat gun and taping it down to a block of wood to the right shape, I won't have that problem. If I completely destroy it, no, I've seen them go on eBay. I'll just check eBay, or maybe just make a new one from scratch out of fiberglass or something. So, I think video-wise, I'm going to end that here. Like I said, I'll show you some photos that I took along the way, and hopefully by the next video I'll have that hood piece heated up and formed on the wood and fitted properly to the fender there. So there's still a lot to do in this model. Like I said, once I get everything fitted and the body off, I'll show you some more parts of the chassis, the motor, the transmission, a lot of that stuff, and I took lots of photos of that before I started doing videos. So I know it seems like we're kind of going backwards, but that's kind of the plan for now. So, but there's still a lot to do. I mean, I still have to do the instrument panel. I got to do the seats, which means I got to do some leather work on the seats, and what else? The top, the soft top. I got 2 more wheels to make, and I got 2 done. It actually came out pretty good. So I'll do some videos on how to do the wire spoked wheels. That'll be much later. And of course, painting the whole body, prime and paint the whole body. So a bit of work left, and I'm kind of anxious to get this done because there's a lot of other projects that I want to get going here. Now, while I'm doing this, I'll probably do a few other smaller projects. I got a few things that would be like 2 or 3 day projects that I'll put videos out on. So I'll be doing more than just this. So, anyways, let me show you some of those pictures of what I've been doing the past couple of days. So here we got the model flipped upside down. It's resting on some paper towels and a sponge or foam pad or something. You got to flip it upside down to put the screws in from the bottom to hold the floor pan in place. And here's one of the screws you can see in there. Just use some needle nose pliers or tweezers or something to put the screw in place, and then a little jeweler's screwdriver to screw it in. And of course there's the one that broke. You can see the hole right in there, and the broken piece of screw is just laying off to the side there. When that happens, it's just important to remember not to panic. Let me show you here how we fix that. So with the floor pan removed off the model and flipped over, just use a soldering iron and a fine point tip. Just rest the tip on the tail of the screw that's broken off, and the heat will just soften the plastic, and you can push the screw out the other side. Here's the other side of that. Might be kind of hard to see, but there's that little piece of screw tail that's just kind of laying there on top of the carpet. For this piece, it wasn't that big of a deal because the texture of the carpeting will cover up the hole, and plus when you put the seats in, you'll never see that. Now, if the exit hole is going to be in a very noticeable, visible place, you'll just have to fill it in, some kind of filler, and sand it smooth and paint over it. Now, if you get lucky, maybe the screw will break with a piece of it kind of still sticking out where you can use some pliers to get a hold of it and turn it out. But in this case, it broke off flush. So pushing it out with the soldering iron was about the only way I could get that thing out. And also when the, it's melting or softening the plastic to push the screw out, once that plastic hardens again, there's enough plastic still in the hole to re-grab some new threads. So a screw, as long as you don't shove the whole soldering iron tip all the way through, the screw hole is still going to take a screw. And if it doesn't, you can always fill it in with some plastic filler, drill it, and tap a new screw in there. This is just where I use my Dremel tool to grind off the little bit of excess on that post where the body sits on. I didn't take much off. It's just enough to let the body sit down a tiny bit. It just helps a little bit. I don't really know if that was completely necessary, but I think it helped a bit. And here we can see the major problem I'm dealing with now. That one side is just really sticking up. The back edge is pretty much in place okay. It's just that front edge is really warped up. So like I said earlier, try a little bit of heat, hold it down on a wood former block, and maybe that'll fix it. Hopefully that'll fix it. So I'll try that, and I'll get back with you with another video once I get this figured out. So as always, thanks for watching.